Hey guys, it's Stephanie with Simarchy and welcome to a tutorial for Windows in The Sims 4. Now this is just going to be a pretty basic introduction on how to place windows, and I guess that's it, how to place windows on a house. So the first thing you're going to want to do is click on your windows here on your little house, and I already have the house built, the rooms laid out, and the doors put down. So I usually lay out the rooms before I choose the windows. That way I can make them symmetric in the rooms, which to me is more important than it being 100% symmetric from the outside. So I always find windows that sort of go nicely together, and my sort of go-to window is this extended vertical from the Parenthood pack. I love it very, very much, and it goes really nice around doors and for creating bay windows. So I'm going to place that right there, one on each side of the door. And then on this house, I did know that I was going to create some bay windows here, so I just laid out the house with the two diagonal walls on the side, and I'm just setting the windows down there as well. Now, when you do have a diagonal wall, the window automatically stretches to fit. So you can see on this wall right here, it has 2 squares on top and bottom, and this one has 3 squares on top and bottom. That just does it automatically for you. It just stretches it to fit. Now there is another way to place windows that I personally never use, but it is auto window by room. So if you click on this tab down here, you can select your window, choose any room that you want. Let's pick this upstairs one right here, or let's pick this downstairs one right here because it's counting this as one giant room. And that way when you place your window, it just automatically puts it on pretty much every wall in that room spaced out evenly. I personally don't like using that because I think it tends to get a little bit crazy, especially right here. But if you are just starting out and just want windows in your house and don't want to think about it, you can absolutely place them by room. So I'm going to go ahead and undo that and go back to placing windows by window individually. Now the next thing you want to do is find a 2-tile window and a 3-tile window that match, so that you have options for different sizes of walls, or I should say different widths of walls, because sometimes you're going to have a place where you can only fit 1 tile window, and some places you're going to have where you can fit 2 or 3 tiles depending on the wall. So there is a 3-tile window that matches the Parenthood one exactly, and the reason I wouldn't use it right here is because I like my windows being symmetric, so there is some extra space on one side but not the other, so that personally drives me crazy. So I need to find a single tile or a 2-tile window that matches these. Now there is the Octopane, which is a base game window, and it goes along with the flow. It fits well, and I could just use this right here, 2 next to each other, and then that would probably be it for the first floor. I don't think I would do much more than that. Again, I do like a lot of windows, but I don't want to go completely overboard with them either. Now, just another trick and side note that some builders do, I personally don't do this, but they create an extra wall somewhere on their property, like let's say right here, for example, and they'll have all the windows laid out that they know that go together that they'll want to use. So for example, they would have that one there, and then maybe I don't know, maybe something shorter. I'm going to go back to short walls. Okay, first of all, we have short walls on the house, so we want to pick short windows is what I meant to say. To know what size walls you have, you can click on your wall, and if the first one's selected, it's short. If the middle one's selected, they're medium, and then of course there is the tall all the way on the right. I usually always use short walls just because I find them easier to build with. So your windows are also sorted by short, medium, and tall. So you're going to see the tall are grayed out and the medium are grayed out, so I can't use them. So we're going to stick with our short windows. Another thing you could do is filter the windows by color to find ones that match. So you can click on filter item and choose the color white, which is what we're working with today. And that way all of the white windows come up. So again, since we have a 1 tile and another 1 tile, maybe we'll want to find a 2 tile or a 3 tile that go with these. So we'll find our 3 tile Parenthood window right there. And let's make this one bigger and find a 2 tile window that would go with this look as well. So probably this window of fortune. So you see how they all just kind of go together. They all have slats down the middle or across the top, and they're all white. They all have a pretty simple frame. They just flow nicely together. So what some builders will do is you leave this wall, sorry, I can talk, I promise. They will leave this wall somewhere on the property. So when they're ready to find their window that they want, they'll just go use their copy tool, which is the eyedropper tool. Click on the window window they want and then go ahead and place it on the house. Now, again, I don't do that, so I'm going to go ahead and delete all of this, but it's a good way to just keep track of what windows go nicely together while you're building. Another question I got from people is whether you should place the windows higher up or lower to the ground, because you can obviously move them up and down. And my answer to that is to look from the inside of the house, because sometimes it's hard to tell from the outside. And I usually put them somewhere in the middle so that there's equal space on the top and on the bottom. Now, this one won't actually snap that way. It's either going to be really high up or real low down. Now, you can hold the Alt key on your keyboard to manually move them up and down. And I don't recommend this on a big house because it's going to be hard to make sure that they actually match up correctly the entire time. But I do like to use the little studs on the wall to help me guide it. So for example, I know for a fact that I want to put the window right here on that stud and right here on that stud. So anytime I'm going throughout the house and placing windows from the inside, I can look at the studs and make sure that they're perfectly lined up. But to keep this one simple, let's just keep it more towards the lower part of the wall. So that way, when we automatically set it down, it's just going to automatically go there. We're not going to have to hold Alt and manually move it up and down. I hope that made sense. Okay, so let's move on. So the front room here is going to be our living room. I think that's enough windows for the front of the house, but we do have this big side area where another window would look nice. So I am going to go through and find that 3-tile parenthood window and see if that fits better. And again, it's not perfectly symmetric because we have two panels on one side and one on the other. Personally, I don't like that. You can totally do that if you like. So I'm going to grab this octo pane instead, which is a single one, and I'm going to create my own window right here. So I just put 4 of them next to each other. Now you might think that's too many windows. You could definitely do two instead, but I tend to like more windows, so I'm going to leave the 4 right there. Now we're going to move on. I'm just going to keep going all the way around. So this is what I imagine would be our dining room. And it has this nice little pop out here, so I think that would be a perfect place to put a nice big feature window. Again, I'm going to try this 3-tile one, and that one actually fits perfect this time. Finally, I can use it. So there's 1 panel on each side. I like the symmetry. I'm happy with that window there. Now, of course, you can keep placing windows around the sides, but sometimes, depending on the type of room, you only need 1 big feature window. So for example, in the living room, it's good to have a few separate areas with windows, but in a dining room like this, it's nice to just centralize them in the middle. Of course, you could place a few over here if you wanted as well. So you could grab these single pane ones and put them just like that. Actually, maybe that's not too much. I think I will leave it like that. I think I do like that. So I do look in from the inside again, just to make sure everything's kind of even. Now, they're not all going to be exactly the same length from the inside or from the outside, obviously, which can be sort of annoying when you do curtains. I personally don't really use curtains, so that's not a big factor for me. But if, for example, you want to use curtains and these are just not lining up correctly, again, you could just remove these or just use the exact same windows throughout the entire room. So for example, we could have gotten rid of this big 3-tile window here and used these and created our own 3-tile window. That way, when you're doing curtains, they all line up perfectly. So let's just leave that for now. Let's just say you were going to do some curtains. So this is the kitchen over here. So with the kitchen, I tend not to do a lot of windows, but I usually always have a back door coming out to the backyard. So I'm going to just use my eyedropper tool to copy my same front door here and move that right there. Now again, this isn't symmetric, so that's going to drive me nuts. So to add some balance and symmetry, I'm going to grab this same parenthood window that we used in the front and put it there. So at least that way there's something on all 3 tiles. I just like that sort of balance. But in an ideal world, I probably would have made this just 2 long or 4 wide. That way I could have had even windows on both sides. But for now, let's just leave that. And then the counters are probably going to go somewhere on this side. So here's another personal preference. You can either put windows that line up with your counters, or you could just do no windows at all. So let's go ahead and place down some counters so we know exactly what this room is going to look like first. I'm going to go ahead into my sort by room, click on my kitchen stuff and my counters, and just pick these nice white base game counters. I'm going to set these down along this wall. So now, when it's time to place windows, I know where to put them. You can also do your cabinets at this point as well, just like that. And here's where the personal preference comes in. You could leave it like that with no windows at all, or you can add a few windows that go in between. Some people really don't mind, and they'll place a window let's say something like this that covers the whole wall, and they don't mind that clipping of the cabinets and the counters, but again, personal preference, that drives me nuts. You can see what I'm talking about from here. So you can see through the window into the counters, and I just don't like that. So I'm going to find a window that I can put directly between the counter and the window, or the counter and the cabinet. So in that case, you definitely want something a bit more shorter. This modern awning is a base game window, and for me, I think it just works perfectly in between counters and cabinets. So I'm going to just put one there and one there. And then you could come from the inside, and you can use that trick again where you hold the Alt key on your keyboard so you can move it down instead of letting it snap to the grid. So we'll put one there and one there, so they line up perfectly. And I'm going to check from the outside to make sure we don't see the bottom of those cabinets, which we do a little bit. It's not a huge deal. You can actually move these down a little bit more if you want. It's just going to cover up the backsplash, or I guess it's going to go behind the backsplash. But that way it's just lined up, and you could just keep playing with your Alt key on your keyboard to make those go up and down wherever you want. Now, I don't want an extended amount of windows in the kitchen, so I'm going to leave it just like that, especially because when I set down my stove, so let's say our stove goes here, I don't really like having a window behind a stove. I just feel like that wouldn't be very realistic. So we could say the stove would go right there, and you could even put your range hood there if you like. Let's grab a range hood just for argument's sake to have one there. Let's see, my go-to one is the wall-mounted modern stove hood. So we'll hide that in the cabinet there. So if there was a window behind it, I just feel like that, again, wouldn't look very realistic. So the kitchen is pretty much done for the windows. Honestly, this really bothers me. I thought I could let it go, but I don't like this. I want it to be completely balanced. So instead, I'm going to find a door that's 3 tiles, so it takes up the entire pop out here. So I'm going to click on my doors, and I'm going to scroll down, and it doesn't exactly tell you what tile they are. You just kind of have to play around. I know from experience that this windowed view from Cats and Dogs is a 3 tile door. So I'm going to grab that and put that there, and that just flows so much better in my opinion. Now, if you did want more windows, we could grab those same Parenthood windows here and put one on each side. That way this entire area up here is completely well lit. Okay, so it's just a lot of trial and error, just playing around with things, seeing how they fit, seeing how they look together, and how they flow. So now we're going to move on to the hallway. I'm not going to put a window here because we already have the 2 on this side. And to make them balance now, this is where it gets tricky, because we can either use another one of these windows in this room, which is, I'm not sure what this room is going to be, maybe a study, just so that from the outside it sort of matches. So we can grab a modern awning here, and probably just put one right, I'm using my Alt key, right there in the middle. So from the outside, you see 3 windows that sort of all have the same spacing in between them. And then maybe we can even fit one more. Let me go back from the outside and see how that looks. Ooh, that looks weird because we have a separation of wallpaper here where the brick meets the paneling, so I'm actually not going to do that. This room already has plenty of windows in the front, so I don't even know if this one's necessary, to be honest. I'm actually going to delete that now. So again, you're just kind of playing around and seeing what looks good from the inside and the outside and how it all balances and matches up together. So now that our first floor is done with our windows, we're going to move on to the second floor. And I think this is where people start to get confused because you're not really sure what to do on the top floor. Should you make the windows match exactly? Should you use different windows? It's sort of kind of hard to figure that out. I personally like to make it match as much as possible. So if I have these 2 windows down here, I'm going to grab them and put 2 windows on top. Again, I am a sucker for symmetry, so for me that just makes me feel good. But you could definitely do something different if you wanted. Now for this side here, since we have a little balcony, oh, I just realized this door isn't symmetric. I'm going to pick a different door. Different door. Oh my gosh, I'm having trouble with words today. So you see how it's a 2 tile door. I want one to sit exactly in the middle for symmetry. So I'm going to go back to my doors and find a white one that just will go right there in the middle. Maybe I want something with a little bit of a window like this one. All right, so now I do want windows on either side. I'm still trying to use those 3 tile Parenthood windows that we were looking at the beginning. Those actually might go here perfectly. So there, I can finally use them. So now they match all the other windows, but it's a different style of window. So it is a good idea to sort of do that on the upstairs floor so that everything's not completely matchy-matchy, but it does still line up with each other and it still flows nicely. Now, another thing that I personally do is I add windows to the roofs. They don't really do anything except be pretty. I mean, there's not an actual room here where the roof is. There sort of is. I might do another tutorial on how to build an attic room, but that's a bit more advanced, so we won't worry about that right now. But I do like just a little bit of something up here so that it's not completely empty. And we do have a few nice options. With the base game, we do have these, where are they? These pessimist porthole, and depending on how wide your roof is, you can sometimes fit those right in the middle. So that one actually goes perfectly right there. And if you want a different alternative, for example, if it was not fitting directly in the middle of the roof, the cat and dog pack has another porthole, and this one actually goes a little bit to the left. I don't know if that made any sense. Let me try to put them next to each other so you can see. So this one snaps directly in the middle, and then this one goes off to the side a bit. So if the roof was wider, this would have snapped right to the middle there. And you can use Alt to move the windows up and down like we talked about, but you can't use Alt to move them side by side. They're going to snap to the grid no matter what. There's no way around that. So I'm going to go back and use the porthole that came with the base game and put that right there at the top of the roof, just so we have a little bit more, just a little bit more something to look at, I guess. All right, so let's continue on our second floor. And again, you can absolutely make these match the top floor and the bottom floor, or if you wanted less windows, we can even do something like that. So they're still the same window, they're still symmetric, and it flows nicely. Now you can, again, go back in from the top floor, or yeah, the second floor, and look from the inside to make sure it's symmetric. Now I tend to make my rooms pretty symmetric to begin with, so that actually fits perfectly. And then we could just keep going around the house and doing the same thing. Again, we can use the exact same windows on the bottom, or you can use a completely different window if you prefer. Let's see, let's put 3 there. And on top of the door here, I want some balance as well. Let's maybe grab, where's the 3-tile parenthood window? Have we not used this one yet? I keep wanting to use it. I'm going to put that right there. So that's perfect. And I like to create little pop-outs so that I can put the windows on the pop-outs and then just leave the inside of the walls without any windows on them. But again, just a personal preference. So honestly, there really is no right or wrong way to do windows. I'm just showing you the way that I like to do it. Now, this is where I was talking about where I don't like the empty space, and I try to use this porthole here, but it doesn't go right in the middle, so that's going to bother me. So this is where I can use the cat and dog one. That will go in the middle, but it's a little bit too big for this space. But the cat and dog pack did come with a few other tiny windows that you can use, like this one. Again, it's a little bit too big. It's not really letting me put it there. I think if I used move objects on, I can make it snap. But let's try this mega window cloverleaf. Nope, see, that doesn't go right in the middle. So we probably won't put a window there as much as I would like to. Let's see if we turn move objects on, if we can make this work better. bb.move objects on. And I do have a separate tutorial on cheats if you want to look that up. So let's see. Okay, so that's still too big. Where's that half one? Right there, the lemon slice. See how that fits just nicely there? It just adds a little something, and it still matches our windows because it's white. As long as the colors match, most windows pretty much go together, as long as you're not using something super modern with something super traditional, unless, of course, that's the look that you're going for. So I also want to put a little tiny window up here. Again, I'm going to grab this one first and see if it fits, the lemon slice, and it actually does. So since it snaps right there to the middle, I'm going to use my Alt key and just bring it down a tiny bit just so it's at a height that I like. And I'm going to do the same thing with all of these windows back here. We're going to put, oh no, none of these fit. Let's go back to the small porthole. And those fit. Let me get a little bit closer so you can see what I'm doing. Just using my Alt key to bring it down a tiny bit. Actually, that one won't go down much further because that roof is very, very tiny. And then we'll put one there as well. All right. I just realized this whole side of the wall has no windows. So let me double check from the inside, make sure we're doing this right. This is going to be a bathroom, so it doesn't need windows. This bedroom has 2 walls of windows, which is nice. This one only has 1 wall, but that's okay. oh no, you see how these windows aren't symmetric here in the bathroom, but they are from the outside? That, again, is a pet peeve of mine. So since there's two things you could do. You could change your floor plan and make the bathroom come out one more. So now that they line up from the inside as well. Or you could have just removed those windows. I don't know why you would have windows in a bathroom to begin with. I usually don't put any, and if I do, I try to cover them with curtains. So what we could actually do is just change the layout of the house and make this a sort of pop out from the hallway. Maybe you could put some desks there and make it a closet or something like that. That way it's not super weird that you look straight into a bathroom from the outside. And then this room has lots of windows on the front, but I would like a couple on the side as well, at least one. And this 3-tile window fits perfectly here because we have 2 panels on each side. So there we go. And then this room already has the 3-panel window, so I'd like to use it again if we can, just to keep it consistent for curtain purposes. And that one actually fits there as well. So that was perfect. The rooms were just laid out perfectly to add the windows right there. All right, so I think that's good. That's an adequate amount of windows. We have a lot more to the right of the house than to the left, but that's okay. On this side, everything's perfectly balanced and symmetric. On the back, everything looks pretty good to me. And on the side, we're good as well. So guys, that's it for the Windows tutorial. I hope that was helpful. I hope explained everything correctly about the single window and using it by room. You can use whichever one is most helpful to you. And then again, the most important thing is to remember is to just make sure that the windows kind of match and flow together. They don't have to be exactly the same. They don't have to be exactly symmetric, but as long as they look nice together, that's all that matters. Try to have fun with it and not worry about it too much. I know that it is a big gripe for some people trying to get it just right, but you really can't go wrong. As long as there's windows on the house, I think you're good. I think you'll be fine. So guys, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss my next video. I'm doing a ton of tutorials on this channel. If you have any ideas of what type of tutorial you want to see, make sure to leave me a comment in the comments down below, and I will see you guys next time. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye! Wait guys, before you go anywhere, don't forget to click over here to watch new videos and click on my face when I disappear to subscribe.